was refused an abortion, became pregnant, gave birth, and eventually battled despair before abandoning the child. He's prosperous now that he's 23 and he loves me, but I feel like I lost out on life. I'm 40 years old, and I adore my 21-year-old son Avram, but I wanted to be a mother and was refused an abortion. Despite the fact that I adore him, I never earned him. I was a bad mother. I am aware that the depression was severe and untreated, but it doesn't make it okay. When he was 10 years old, his dad and stepmom took him in, and they adored him and turned him into the most incredible young man I've ever met. I received therapy when they took him, and I later had inpatient treatment for my drinking. Avram's father allowed me to spend weekends with him, so I made an effort to be a good parent this time around and made the most of our time together. He liked living with me and would often tell me that I didn't need to apologize because I was unwell. He spent more time with me since he turned 18, and even though I know his stepmother deserves it, and I don't do anything since it makes him happy. Avram wanted to spend Friday with me because we always do that, but his stepmom was holding a work dinner this past Friday and wanted all of her kids to attend. I knew he should be there for her because she's more like his mom than mine. I pretended to be away from home that day and ghosted him to get him to go. But he wouldn't listen and insisted on spending time with me. I later noticed that he had left on his girlfriend's Instagram story. But you know who sees tales? And she did, and she messaged me, saying I was being conceited by leaving him, which really irritated him. She practically called me a jerk without ever speaking those words. Since then, he hasn't messaged me very often either. I believe that what I'm doing is right for him. I'm trying to be grateful to the lady who deserves his affection. But I considered trying to pass judgment here. Comments to which the owner responded, removed Uda as an adult. He has the freedom to decide for himself how and with whom to spend his time. You must speak with each other. Being a ghost was a jerk move. Of Kite 510, Uda, your child is 21 years old, and much beyond the age at which he may choose which parent he wants to spend time with. You informed him that it would have been his choice to hang out with you, rather than his stepmother, and that he should really be with her. This would hurt me so much if I were him. I didn't mean to hurt my son, please stay away from him. Deleted, you know your son wants to see you and you've given up attempting to play the victim. Like you, I hardly talk to my mother anymore since every time I wanted to spend time with her, she would either blow me off or tell me to go see my dad instead, who is better and can love me more. What if you went to meet and spend time with your son, instead of feeling sorry for yourself? This is going to be brutal, so don't read if you can't handle it. Rizarkana Mia Uda. He has the right to decide how and with whom he spends his time now that he is 21. It's just you doing what you always do, denying your presence when he needs it. You can't blame me for not deserving him. Since his stepmother is similar to his biological mother, he should prioritize her. All other justifications and sentiments belong to you, not to him. This is your chance to make amends. Don't let your guilt rob you of him anymore. Say you're sorry, and that you don't think you deserve him, but that you'll stop being a coward and be there for him always from now on. Make apologies in the way he desires, not in the way you believe it is right. That's the only way you can forgive yourself and him for your previous transgressions. Stay away from my son. I don't mean to rob him of anything, because of my guilt, and I don't mean to come out as a coward. But I am one. I may not deserve him, but he's the most amazing son a mother could ask for. That's not an acceptable justification, because I messed up all over him. Okay, Bruddity Cat. How about you strive to improve? It won't benefit anyone if you beat yourself up and play the victim. If you're determined to improve and do better for both yourself and your youngster, counseling may be helpful. You are sickeningly self-centered, YummyBread69. You are limited to talking about yourself and your emotions. This is one of the most self-centered things I have ever seen on this subreddit, this pitiful self-pity party you are hosting for yourself. Utah will have to do since I can't really express how I feel about you without getting banned. Okay, screen 8739, Utah. It's not cool to ignore your child. At the very least, be honest with him out of respect. Is there any way you could have talked to the stepmother about coming too? She would prefer that I stay away from my son's operation. Utah 1, Athenorian 1. Even though you have the best of intentions, you are effectively trying to make decisions for him because he is an adult. You believe you understand what is best for him. You can express your opinions, but because this is unique, how about you see your stepmother instead? We could hang together on Saturday, and so on, but you have to accept his choices. Perhaps it's time for another treatment session. The way you speak about your kid begs for answers, and it sounds like you may use some assistance figuring out how to handle your connection with him now that he's an adult. I wish you luck because it appears like your heart is in the right place. Avoid my son up. I still attend therapy, because my problems will never be solved. I've invited him to accompany me, but he's never been able to due to his busy schedule at school and other reasons. Update 1. I called my son Avram after realizing how mistaken I had been in my post. And happily he answered and approached. Before I could even speak, he gave me such a strong hug that nearly brought me to tears, but I forced myself to hold back. I told him about his stepmother's gathering and my feelings that I didn't deserve him, and that he should go. I explained to him my past misdeeds from our childhood years together, and my belief that I wasn't deserving of his pardon. What perhaps startled me the most was when Avram told me he didn't think much of his time with me, and that most of his recollections were joyful ones, with the bad periods just stemming from the fact that I was ill and not my fault. It's not that I forgot, I suppose, it's just that I never gave them any thought or valued them. Small things like the Sundays I used to take him shopping at Zeller's and always let him to get a. Oi. How his birthday cakes would always have a particular message put on them. How, even though he was 10 years old when his dad took him, I would always let him fall asleep embracing me. How, if he became sick, I would skip work to be with him. He told me about his time when he was 9 years old, and it made me cry. I planned an Easter egg hunt in the park particularly for him after some kids teased him for being Jewish. He was so upset that he had to leave school before the Easter egg hunt. Not only that, but he valued so much of what I told him that I doubt I could write it all here without going over the allotted word count. When I consider how horrible I was, and how much I drank, smoked, or yelled at him, it's so difficult to hold on to the good memories, but if he can do it, then I can do it for him. And I have made an effort. I believe it's been better for our relationship that I've let him have complete control over it. He and his girlfriend took me out to dinner on Mother's Day and showered me with boxes of chocolates. Since then, we've been seeing each other a lot more frequently. I have been consuming them exclusively during their visits so that we can share them together. Even therapy has improved since I persuaded him to come to several sessions, and I believe he now realizes the difficulties I faced when I became pregnant, as well as my deep regard for his stepmother. Besides, he started going to the gym with me and his girlfriend. My son has my undying affection. I've never been happier as I am with him. Thankfully, he has nothing negative to say about me. He is everything that has ever been excellent about me. I like to imagine that if I hadn't become so wounded, maybe I would have ended up exactly like him. I will make an effort to never hurt him, or be so self-centered again, since he makes me feel so joyful and proud. I want to express my gratitude to all the mothers out there and to everyone who helped me decide to apologize. No matter how old they are, please give your sons a hug tonight if you can. Fantastic update, comments erased. Excellent points to remember. 1. You gained insight into your errors. 2. You discovered that you weren't as horrible as you once believed. 3. Your child was consistently older than you realized. 4. You asked for assistance. 5. That assistance is obviously effective. 6. Fantastic that your child will be attending some sessions. I'm happy for both you and your youngster. Continue on the correct course. Please do not take my son's op. I promise to never stray from the truth for him. Lilio Fiali, that is really wonderful. Both for him and for yourself, do it. Many people are supporting you and your second opportunity to love yourself less than 3 GG. May God continue to bless you. You are such a wonderful person. You are honoring him in a multitude of ways. You genuinely wish him all the best. This kind of person is rare. You're not dirt because you slid and staggered. You are cherished. 60 and Cheshi, I adore these kinds of updates. However, there's someone chopping onions at my desk, so I'm going to shortly get strange looks from my colleagues. I'm so glad for you. It is worth the battle to forgive oneself, even if I can attest from experience that it is frequently much more difficult than to forgive others, particularly following addiction struggles. I'm relieved that you're repairing that bond. I need a tissue now. Please don't mess with my son. I suppose the reason is that I don't think I deserve forgiveness. But if my son can do it, then I definitely can. I know I can do this since I did overcome my addiction for him. Forgiveness, Paisley Penguin, isn't about deserving. You don't merit pardon. One cannot purchase forgiveness. You are unable to strive for it. It is granted forgiveness. You have your son's forgiveness. Acceptance is all that is required. Of course, the other person is less inclined to extend forgiveness if you keep being an but ultimately, just like at stepmom's party, it is up to him whether or not to pardon you. And now that he has our cockroach 1662, NGL, I'm crying uncontrollably at my desk at work. Well done for listening to his advice and discussing it with him. I'm very happy he showed you the mother he thinks of you. Mama, see you through his eyes. Let me share a proverb with you. According to my father, there is no such thing as a perfect parent. With what you had, you did the best you could. Additionally, that makes sense given your circumstances. Recall that you used the resources at your disposal to the best of your ability. You definitely performed a fantastic job. See how much your son cares for you and longs to be in your presence. He wouldn't want to be around you as much as he does if you were even half as horrible of a mother as you believe you are. We often judge ourselves harshly. Steer clear of my son. You're correct, that if I let him handle things, I feel like I can put myself in his position. Similar to how I'm letting him sit in my therapy sessions. Although a boy will always adore his mother, the amount of love that he has shown me recently has surprised me. Everything would be done for my ideal boy. Update 2: I long to experience my son's life. I've read a few entries, so I'm not sure whether this is the appropriate area to write, but I believe it is. My son is a great young guy and a perfect boy. I love him with all my heart. Now 23, he has graduated and secured a fantastic position as an accountant, a career he chose because it aligns with mine. He is getting married to his fiancée in September. They both paid me a visit this Mother's Day, and we had a great evening at my house. However, ever then, I've been plagued by these unanswerable thoughts. At 42, I feel as though my life has been a complete waste, yet my son is experiencing the greatest life imaginable. I was abroad when I became pregnant with my kid, and as with many other youngsters, I got caught up in some ridiculous religious frenzy. As a result, I was essentially prevented from getting an abortion while I was still able to. I didn't want children at the moment and believed I would never desire any. With him, my life descended into misery. I drank and smoked because I was depressed. I used drugs once or twice, and I used to spend endless hours in the gym, believing that I could get my physique back, and even at bars, where I wanted to be flirted with like I used to. I've been sober for 10 years now, but I had to give custody to his father and go to an inpatient treatment facility for my alcoholism. It defies logic that my son still loves me so much after I did all of that awful, dumb stuff. When I question him about why he keeps bringing up all these positive things that I can barely recall at all. And it makes me feel so very guilty, because I would definitely have an abortion and never have had him if I could go back in time. I would do it since he is the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I've been contemplating since Mother's Day. Because I had him, I never got to experience college the way he did. Because I had him, I never had the chance to fall in love with someone who could make me feel like a princess and carry out a fantasy romance. Because of my mental health problems, I was never able to have the secure employment that would eventually allow me to manage my own business. Having had one myself, I was never able to determine if having children was something I truly wanted to do or if it was just an adolescent dread. But he is able to accomplish all of that. He graduated with honors from university, having had an amazing experience. They told me to anticipate to become a grandmother soon, and he did sweep his fiancée off her feet, so he's been such a good young man. He's the only member of my true family that remains, and the only person who loves me, so I shouldn't feel this way since I have no friends and spend all of my time at work, home, or the gym. Hugging him makes me feel wonderful and proud, but as soon as he returns to his father's, I get sick. I sincerely regret having him because I could have had the opportunity to experience his life because I believe it should have been mine. I mentioned this to my psychiatrist during our most recent session, and we had a great conversation, but I can't recall it now. I'm not sure why it seems like memory loss is becoming so difficult in this day and age. Is there any sense to any of this? Is it incorrect of me to feel this way? Greetings, Stalker here. I apologize for your feelings. I would like to draw attention to the fact that you seem to be living your life in the hypothetical, even though there is no way to know if you would have experienced all of the things you believe you did not. I get the impression that you wouldn't have had all those missed experiences if you hadn't fallen victim to a form of cult in the first place. I believe that you might be using this as a crutch or an explanation for why you haven't succeeded in any of your dreams. Even now, a lot of women fall in love and discover true happiness with kids. Many continue to attend school, get the degree they desire, and launch businesses while having kids. Additionally, it appears from your post that you relinquished custody for a considerable period of time, during which you might have accomplished all of these goals. You could have experienced mental health problems for any reason at any time. If you are honest with yourself and truly live your life, I believe you will be much happier. At just 42 years old, you have plenty of time to achieve your goals. Though I have plenty of my own, I'm all for the sympathy party. Nothing is more beneficial than accepting responsibility and making the required adjustments in order to find pleasure. I sincerely hope you do find happiness, especially since your kid looks like he will be a tremendous support to you in anything you do and is such a wonderful young man who loves you so deeply. Don't mess with my son. I wasn't in a cult. Since my family consisted primarily of teenagers and we were devout, traditionalists could easily manipulate us. I'm not sure why we were so taken in by all of their promises regarding our futures. I was still able to attend classes, earn my degree, find employment, go on dates, and all of that. But because of my son, nothing about my life was as it had been in my dreams. And I can't really recall the remainder of that period of time since I spent the first part of it in inpatient rehab for my drinking after I gave up custody of my son. I have a lot of distinct memories, but none of them are broad. I realize that's strange, but I'm not sure why I was unable to carry out my dreams at that time. I simply don't have a great memory of that period of time. Furthermore, Even though you claim that 42 is young, I am actually old. I no longer have the same access to the gym. And guys seldom ever flirt with me. My career has stagnated and I never get asked out. I'm lower down today than somebody 10 years younger than me. Hell, I'll become a grandmother very soon, if my son bears a child after he marries. More ancient than that? Congratulations on being grandparents. I can't claim complete responsibility for my son's success. After I gave up custody, I actually didn't have much of a role in parenting him because I wasn't fit to do so. Maybe I wouldn't be thinking these thoughts if I could truly claim credit for it. If I had been. I'm very fortunate that he adores me and is flawless. I'll do my hardest to be the greatest grandmother I can be. I won't have anything against it as long as I'm not referred to as Zadie or grandmother. I promise to spoil my grandchild in the same way that my grandmother did for me. I appreciate everyone who has been attempting to lift her spirits. Although I appreciate everyone's efforts to lift my spirits, it seems like they're not understanding. I will do anything to ensure that my son's life continues to be this wonderful because I adore him and the wonderful life he is leading. However, I detest that for me, it wasn't that way. XMRSHMLLW. This one, man, it makes me feel so many different things. I'm happy that her kid still cares for her and can put aside her illness-related behavior. However, I also find it really sad that she had to give up her life to have a child that she didn't want. And it's obvious that this is still bothering her. Yes, lost worked, that's really bad. It appears that in the 2 years since her initial posts, she hasn't really improved and, in certain respects, may have even gotten slightly worse. Oh, saffron honeysuckle. Or perhaps she's just getting her bearings and taking stock before beginning to rebuild. Though I wasn't. Really in it, I definitely went through a phase where I woke up feeling overwhelmed and heartbroken about missed time. Even the fact that she mentioned exercising is a fantastic comparison. It can seem unachievable if you've never been in shape. Even if you fall behind once more, you will understand how it feels to reach your destination once you've done it successfully. She has probably never experienced what it's like to live a well-organized life. This line from her in-law struck a chord with me. Perhaps in a different universe where I hadn't become so wounded, I would have ended up exactly like him. Because her son embodies everything she aspires to be, a good person with a beautiful soul. It's as though realizing how unproud she is of herself has made her proud of him, and maybe that realization will steer her in the right direction. Humorous drama 5363. Oh no, fuck it. Oh, I see. Should you ever come across this? Many people find you amazing and your son is actually more like you than you realize. Like him, you deserve to go on adventures. God, that was a difficult read. Boomshrum. The only bright spot in this woman's otherwise obviously miserable life is her son, who also happens to be a symbol of one of the worst things that has ever occurred to her, and contributed to some of the trauma she is still dealing with. I'm hoping she can get past this and discover, if only a small amount, how to love herself. Lost work. My question is, to what foreign nation was she sent and imprisoned after being pregnant? She makes it obvious that she is Jewish, but she doesn't exactly say where this happened. Meg Bookworm, I believe that most Orthodox sex practices discourage or forbid abortion. She would have found it quite difficult to be a single mother as well. Still, being a single mother is not an easy task. Here are Boo77 and BR4Z3, an Orthodox Jew. Abortion is a hot topic of discussion in religious Jewish circles. Personally, I support life. But I attend a sizable mainline Orthodox synagogue in my city, and on Saturday, our Sabbath, the head rabbi delivered a sermon from the pulpit regarding various rabbinic perspectives on abortion, concluding that it is permissible in accordance with Jewish law. This was following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on the RVW case. Once more, this is traditional Orthodox Judaism. I have 8 children, a beard, and I always wear a black hat. Continued with the claim that Easter is observed by people of Jewish ethnicity. I've come to the conclusion that, despite the fact that this mother and her kid are officially acknowledged as members of the Jewish people, they do not practice Judaism. I assume that what other people have said is that she belonged to a Christian fringe group.